나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I hope that this finds you well and secure. And I want to talk about a wonderful email I got from one of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you, John. He took a trip recently, he did, from Southern California to a friend of his in another state. And he found himself a little unsure what to do about being away from his Butsudan, his mandala of Gohanson, for an extended period of time. He wanted to keep practicing every day, and without his object of focus to clench his invocation of Buddha in his mind, he was concerned. John was clever in that he took the digital image of the final Nichiren mandala of Gohanzen that I had sent him so that he could print it out to suit and fit his mandala, and viewed it on his device, iPad or tablet, whatever it was, and he practiced doing that. And he, in relaying the story, he asked me, is this, it didn't quite feel right. He wasn't sure if this was a valid way of traveling without one's, you don't want to pack up your Butsudan and bring it on the plane with you, right? An overhead passenger or whatever. I thought, man, I really need to address that. I had to confront that myself a number of years ago, visiting a good friend several states away who had bone cancer. And I was going to be there 2 or 3 weeks. Turned out to be the last of just maybe 4 or 5 weeks of his life. So it was a very important trip for me, not only because he was a good friend, but because I wanted to raise his life condition. So, a little background on this, not that it's absolutely necessary, but this is actually something that has troubled people for a great many years. Some organizations, some that I joined and practiced with for a while, would put these arbitrary rules around having what's commonly referred to as a travel mandala. Some, if you know some older Japanese people of the Nichiren sect, some of them might have a pendant with a little mandala inside of it. The general rule was you had to practice at least 10 straight years before you might be considered for a travel mandala. It wasn't something that was typically handed out, and it was generally handed out to the further qualification that you have to be somebody who, in your professional life, in the matter of the daily course of your life, you do a lot of traveling, like a salesperson or a representative or a politician, something like that. So it was very, very difficult to get one of these, whatever size they were, travel mandala. And I always thought that was peculiar, and I'm not going to go into my rant. You know how offended I am by the idea that these organizations and sects can hold the carrot to you and say, well, you can't have your your practice, your focus, your mandala. You can't have that unless you're a good boy and you do all these things. It just makes me fume. Talk about obstacles to practice. So that couple of years ago that I went to visit my friend, this is what I did. I found, this is my solution. I found this really pretty cover that's actually, it stays shut with an elastic and it opens like a book. And these are made generally for small tablets. And then I made a print, a 5x7 print approximately, of the TLK final mandala, Nichiren mandala of Gohonzon. And then I tried to find a frame that would fit in here, and I was having no success. So I cut out the image, and I put it under a piece of plexiglass on top of a chunk of wood that I cut all custom to fit it. I'm not saying you have to do all this work. I'm saying this was a good solution for having a physical mandala, which makes me physically responsible for it, safe within an enclosure that keeps it safe. I say all of this because to see an image on a phone or a tablet, I mean, it's all well and good, you can see the image, but it doesn't have the same connection, because that's the whole purpose of the mandala, right? Is to take our physical samsaric reality and pierce it into our mental reality, cognitive, perceptive state, and enliven, invoke Buddha in that samsaric mind. So the physical aspect of it, it is important, John. You're absolutely right. That to have something that now I can imbue the preciousness of my practice in this physical thing. So it's a pretty thing. I like that it has the lotus pattern on it. Everything I did here was considered to do the most respect I could to this mandala. And so then when I would chant to it, I would already have a relationship with my travel mandala. Very easy to travel with this. It's very lightweight. It's protected. It's a big enough size so that my faulty vision can see it clearly while I focus on it. And it worked out great. Every morning I just set it up and opened it up. It would prop itself up, and I could just do my practice in my room, and then I could close it up so that it wouldn't be advertising for anyone else. I talked to them about Buddhism. I talked to them about what I do. But I let them ask more questions about it rather than saying, I'm putting this up here, you must respect it. It's their home. It would have been rude to do that. But at the same time, I want to respect my practice, right? And then I want to be a shows you example of how effective this practice is in daily life, especially under the circumstances we were in. Not to say that that's the only time you should use one. If you travel a lot, or if you know you're going to go away from your home and your altar for an extended period of time, it's a very secure feeling that you're bringing your practice with you, right? So beyond just suggesting that anyone could do this, I took the initiative, and you could have done this already, but if you go, and I made some pictures, and I will post them on top of my my visage here on this video when I produce it, when I'm done recording here. But I talk about the threefoldlotus.com website, all that free information there. So I'm putting a button on if you scroll down from the home page when you first get there, you'll see buttons start appearing. And it'll say in big old letters, Travel Mandala. And if you click on that button, you'll go to my cafepress.com online printer for Gohanzon. And on that site, you'll see full-size Gohanzons, some large, some medium, some smaller ones. There's a small, like 4x6 canvas one. Maybe you could do that, a print on canvas, and then put that in some kind of a cover, right, to keep it protected. And then, it's a printing site, so that it's not a Nichiren printing site. It's just a printing site. So there's a category called greeting cards. And I chose a singular greeting card that I think is about 5.5 by 7.5 inches. It might be 6 by 8. But from what I was able to discern on the website, it's about 5.5 by 7.5, which is about the size of this. And it's a heavy cardstock, right? And you can order it in gloss or matte. I prefer matte, so I don't have any reflections coming off of the mandala, right? And you can order one travel mandala greeting card. On the inside, I put a graphic. It's something I did for t-shirts and stuff. It says "Be the Myo," and it has the character Myo inside. But that's irrelevant. You can leave it solid as a greeting card, or you can just cut the back off of it and just use that front with the image, the full page image of Nichiren's mandala of Gohanzon. And then you can frame it. You can put plexiglass, or I wouldn't put glass over the top of it, just because if you're traveling, it's too easy to break something like that, sit on it or whatever, then you damage the mandala, and that's not good. So I would use something like plexiglass, something sturdy, and frame it and keep it. And then when you bring it home, when you're back home, you put it at your butsudan as like an offering, so that it's in union. You don't frame it. You don't enshrine it, right? Because there's only one mandala that you're supposed to enshrine in a family, a building, a house, right? Never more than one, because that disturbs your unit focus. But like I did with my old mandalas, that I no longer use for many, many years, they're a part of my growth in practice. So I don't throw them away. I don't ritually burn them. Those were important parts of my development. So I roll them up respectfully, put them in an envelope, put them in a container, and I keep them under my butsudan. This is my history. This is how I practice now, and this is where I came from. So you don't get rid of anything. Everything is respectful. Everything is representative of your Buddha nature and how you evolved, how you came to be to this point, right? We should never be ashamed of our past. Sometimes we feel regrets about our past because in our ignorance we did foolish things. But that's part of samsara, right? That's part of changing karma. We can't retroactively change anything, right? The past only exists in this present moment as we consider it. So anyway, that's a long way about it. You may notice in the big butsudan behind me, at the bottom of the mandala, there's a decorative little box. In it is my original mandala. It's no longer useful, but it was useful in my early development as a Buddhist. So it is respectfully tucked away inside the butsudan. This would be much harder to conceal in the butsudan. So it will hold a place beneath it on the altar. The same place I would put name placards of deceased relatives or friends that I want to remember for certain ceremonies, that kind of thing. But my focus always is on this mandala. I don't want to collect a bunch of other stuff underneath there, only the significant ones. And some of them only come out of the storage drawers and onto the altar when there's a special ceremony, like the ceremony for the deceased. That's when I bring out the name placards of my sister and my father and so on and so forth, right? And then they get put away again because my focus always is on my enlightenment, my awakening. That's the only way I can reach any of these other relationships, because ultimately they only exist within me. They're gone, they're extinct, they're gone. But their influence and their imprint still feeds into who I am. And that is where I communicate with them, right? That's what we all do. Anyway, so I encourage you, if you do travel a lot, I wouldn't just make one for the fun of it. But if you do travel or have important travels, if it's not, something regular but is occasional, when you go away for many weeks or days at a time, you can bring a respectful relationship with your practice with you. If you have the opportunity before you leave, by all means, put it on the altar and do your final gongyo at home with this right there at the altar to bridge the travel from the home, and then make sure then you can put it into your suitcase and so forth and bring it with you. Do you see what I'm saying? And when you get home, you can do the same thing. You're sort of bringing a karmic history with you back from the travels and re-communicating that experience with your current home mandala. Yeah? Makes sense? So, if that's something you're interested in, you shouldn't have any obstacles to keep your practice strong and personal. And this is a very good way to do it. You don't have to sign any agreements or win a three-legged race or right? This is deeply personal. As long as you do it respectfully, honor your practice by respecting the focal point, the tools of your practice, right? So yeah, I want to make sure that, and also not only on the home page, but if you go to the course studies page, home.htm, where all the buttons are for everything, you'll see very near to the top where the personages of the Gohonzon button is, and the download of the meditations, the liturgy. There'll be a large lettering button there, say Travel Mandala. And if you click that, it'll go to a picture of the page where that mandala is on the Cafe Press, and there'll be written across the top the actual URL you can type in to go to the cafepress.com/Gohonzon store, and you can see all the different Gohonzons there, and you'll find the travel mandala greeting card, right? And you can just purchase one there. I think they're like $8. It's pretty cheap, right? And it'll be, like I said, on good cardstock, so it won't be some flimsy piece of paper, right? Not that the larger prints are flimsy, but they are an archival paper as opposed to a cardstock. And, of course, much larger. Or go the canvas route. I didn't think of that when I did this, and the canvas might have fit into something like this easier than this, what I did. As long as it's protected so that you can respect it and protect it and know that it's has this value of bringing your relationship with mandala with you, of Gohonzon and mandala, then I think as long as that's the way you approach it, I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. And I'm more than happy to encourage you to use the resources that I can offer you to make sure that you do that correctly, respectfully, right? So, short video. Yeah, real short, unlike me. Thanks again, John, for bringing that up. All of us can appreciate that. And let me know if there are any other questions about this kind of thing and how you might go about it. anything to keep your practice strong. That's what this Sangha is about. That's why we're practicing Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Never hesitate to get yourself a mandala. And I will see you in the next video. Okay? Bye for now.